Hi, in this video we're going to go over 6 major forms of scientific evidence or forensic evidence or CSI, however you want to phrase it. CSI right now is the way people call it because of the popular TV shows. One of them is fingerprints. They can dust a sub area for fingerprints, lift a print, and then compare it to your fingerprints. Now, what's interesting is they look at the number of common ridges and points, but what is interesting is there's really no standardized number of identifying marks you need to make in order to have an identifiable print. And I know that what NOPD uses in New Orleans is actually more stringent than what the FBI uses. So there is a little bit of a gray area. In a fingerprint case, normally it comes down to the quality of print that was lifted. That'll determine whether or not that there's a match. The next is DNA, and this is very interesting. There's more science that comes involved all the time, so it's always good that you get an expert involved. But I will say this with DNA, if they were able to lift up a profile, then what they're going to look at is it one person? If it's one person, they can make a match. If it's more than one person's DNA in there, that's a mixture. And a mixture, they'll never be able to make a match. All they can do is say if you are included or excluded. That's it. So if you got a mixture, they're not going to say it matches to Andre. They may say, hey, look, Andre cannot be excluded. And then the question is, are you a major contributor to the mixture or a minor contributor? And so that's always important. Now, again, even if there is a DNA match, how the DNA got there, when it got there, and under what circumstances could be the issues that are litigated. But in a DNA case, you're best served by going to get an actual expert consultant, because the technology and refining DNA changes all the time. Next is blood splatter. This is used in some cases. In some cases, it's not. I'm not even certain this is established science, but basically, if you've seen like the show Dexter, he was really good at blood splatter, right? He's a serial killer who worked for a crime lab in Florida. But anyway, you shoot somebody, projectile's going to go through their body and blood's going to splatter. You stab somebody, the actual cut's going to cause stuff, the knife going back up is going to splatter. And you try to look at the concentration of blood, the direction of flow, to kind of get an idea as to what happened. That's in essence what a blood splatter expert will do. One that is always used in a criminal case is a forensic pathologist, and sometimes a pathologist is a defense attorney's friend. This was the person that did the autopsy of the dead person. They're going to talk about, with like gunshots in particular, they can give you distance, based on the markings on the wound. They can tell you if it was a contact shot, a close shot, an intermediate shot, right? They can also look to see if there was defensive wounds on somebody. So if there's a claim that the victim was fighting off, but there's no defensive wounds, that may be something that is important to know. Or if the victim has gunpowder on their own hands and you're trying to say, well, they shot at me first. Those are all things that pathologists can testify to. They can also, obviously, they testify as to the manner of death and how the person died. In rare instances, you may be able to show that the person died of some other event other than what you're claiming happened. But anyway, that's there. Another good component of the pathologist exam is the blood sample. You want to know if the dead person was on alcohol or drugs or a combination of both, and sometimes that explains their erratic behavior and aids in a defense. The next one's a handwriting exemplar, and actually a jury can take notice of someone's handwriting similarity to a document, but there are experts that will get the person to write out a bunch of letters and words, and they'll compare how they make their L's or H's or whatever to the document in question and give an opinion. Say, hey, this is likely written by the same person. Again, there have been folks that have not been qualified as an expert based on their training on that, and again, the jury can make their own assessments too. And the last one that's kind of pretty cool is ballistics. I actually think ballistics is one of the more reliable sciences out there. When you fire a gun, it's going to leave a couple of distinct impressions. The hammer pin striking the bullet is going to leave a mark on that. So if I get a casing and I have the weapon recovered, well, first of all, I just have the casing. I can look at multiple casings or even from the same caliber of bullet, and I can determine they were fired by the same weapon by looking at that strike mark. Now, if I have the weapon, I can fire a test bullet, compare that test bullet to the casings I recovered to determine if the casing that I have from my crime scene matches the gun I recovered. Same thing with a bullet. As the bullet's going through the barrel, that barrel's going to leave an imprint on the bullet. So I can look at a couple of bullets and I can determine if they were fired from the same weapon. And if I get the weapon, I can fire a dummy shot and compare the two bullets to see if the bullet recovered from the scene matches the gun that was recovered. So that's pretty fascinating. And that's something that you'll see in a lot of homicide cases. So there's 6 major types of forensic evidence. There's a lot more. There's arson investigations, hair fiber, glass, I mean, all sorts of things, tire tracks, footprints. But these are the major ones that I see in murder cases that I deal with, all right? Any questions, you can email me, andre@manassehandgill.com. I'll have a link at the bottom. You can also call me at 225-927-1234.